Peace and love, brother. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Today has been full of surprises, but I'm definitely have a lot to be grateful for. But Kindred, let's talk. I had a conversation with my mom earlier today, right? And she was so flustered as she was expressing, her pain and seeing everyone going crazy with these riots and the fires and the looting and everything that's been going on. She was telling me how she was like, first she was like, I can't figure out, or I don't know why is it that we all can get angry and go burn down a building and get locked up for that? We could go to jail for burning down a building, but none of us thought that it was smart to, as we're recording, push and help the brother who had the policy enforcer, the police, actually have, his foot on the brother neck. She was like, why couldn't somebody step in then? Why couldn't somebody go to jail for that? Now that he's dead, now everybody want to cause damage to everything else in process. And I was like, I don't necessarily condone violence, but you have definitely a good point with that, right? And then she went on her rant, basically just saying how, it's about being human. It's about having compassion. What is the purpose of everyone, going crazy and damaging everything? What is the purpose? What is the purpose of whatever, right? And I was like, Mom, it's not about what the purpose is. It's for us to examine the fact that this is an effect to cause. Okay, let's go back and think about the ultimate cause, about what's really, really going on. So, I had to break it to her. I had to let her know. I was like, well, Mom, I know that you said that, it's about being human and having compassion for others, which is, where we need to first start when it comes to having unity.
Right.
You got to remember, I was like, I expressed to her, I was like, if people were aware of the Constitution, they would know their rights and how to protect themselves. She was like, it's not about the Constitution. She was like, it's not about the Constitution. I don't care about no rights. It's about people being human and having compassion, and just having the decency to respect one another, right? And so I'm like, but Mom, hear me out. Mm-hmm. When it comes to being human and when it comes to having compassion, these are all the natural things that you would think that one would have the common sense of knowing. But everyone out there, they have their own reasons for being deceitful or hurtful or dishonorable to other people, So that is ultimately the reason for why the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was enacted in, I believe, 1948. I was like, even before they had to publicize and declare everyone's human rights, which should be something that everybody should know already. Before that, you had the Constitution, and the only reason why the legislation is put in place is to secure the rights that we already have, nothing less. But if you aren't aware of what secures our right, that causes a triple effect. Because if you're not aware of the right and what secures the right, you wouldn't know how to protect the right. Because I feel like because people don't know exactly what their rights are, they're reacting out of emotions. And when you react out of emotions and you're filled with anger and you want to release it in a way of violence, that is different. And that's a different reaction from someone who can look at it and be like, oh, well, I see that this isn't a black on blue crime. This is a national, right? A national who has been literally, violated in every which way possible by someone who has taken an oath to uphold the Constitution and to protect the people. That is the violation. So we need to act according to law in resolving it, you know? And
but you know what? We also got to look at, yes, there's a violation on the end of the policy enforcer who murdered the brother and sisters, but there's also a violation from them being stateless and them calling themselves something that they're not. I think a lot of times our people, when they are, because we always try to look at ourselves as righteous and, you know, all of these different things, but we don't look at the part that we play in stuff.
Righteous and saved.
Right, exactly. And when you look at the Bhagavad Gita, that's the Indian philosophy on life. It talks about arming yourself to take responsibility. Islam, RC Pants,
Islam,
taking responsibility for your own actions and not putting the blame on other people. A lot of our people getting violated right now. I'm not looking at the oppressor because I know anybody in their right mind would do the same thing. I think we need to look at ourselves and what we can do. And one of the things that we can do when these type of things happen, Islam B. Forte, one of the main things we can do is go after the policy enforcers. We don't call them police officers because they're not elected. But you go after the policy enforcer, you go after his bank bond.
Yep.
You go after his insurance. You go after his domicile, his location. And I think this time around, a lot of people actually posted the person who murdered the brother, George Floyd. They posted his information all over the internet.
So that means that people are aware of the information they need in order to assist in the leaning and assisting on the claims.
Oh, yeah.
On the insurance policy. And, you know, it's funny, too, because my mom and I, we were going back and forth because she was like, yeah, people need to know themselves, but we need to be unified first. There needs to be unity first and foremost, because without unity, all of this chaos is still going to come on. I was like, Mom, don't you see what's happening? They're unified in there, and they're ignorance out there,
right?
Out there looting and rioting and doing all of these things, you know, that is actually giving the de facto government more means to inflict all of these martial law tactics.
Right, you know? And they're organized and they're unified to the point where I've seen this Albion European male. He was attacked. His face was all bloody, messed up. The interviewer asked him, how did this happen? And he said, well, I was attacked. I got out the car and I said, you know, all lives matter. And then I got attacked by 2 African Americans. Now, they played the video clip side by side and showed that he was attacked by his own people. And that taught me that they're so unified that even when they beat each other up, they still will blame us. We haven't got to that point yet, you know. That's the nation mindset. And I think a lot of times when our people don't have these national principles and standards, we won't look out for each other like that. So, yeah. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that can be done, but I know for a fact, I just think that this time is different. I know we're seeing Fauci get them indictment letters. And Bill Gates, you know, they removed the funding from the World Health Organization.
That's what I was telling my mom. I was telling her as well. I was like, because ironically enough, when we was having this debate, the news was playing in the background. And so in the midst of our conversation, of course, they were showing the live feed of how they were rioting in DC and everything. And so I was letting her know, I was like, you know, think about it. When it comes to the violation, I was like, the reason, because she told me, she was like, you know, this isn't just about Black Lives Matter. This is about all lives matter. We all need to do better in how we treat one another, together. And I was like, you have a point. You're right. And I get your perspective, Mother. However, look at it from this point, right? The most important thing that we can do in this time is recognize the disharmony. Okay, there's going to continue to be, if there's disharmony amongst the people, especially the natives on this land.
That's right.
And what we do have an effect on the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. The real issue needs to be addressed with the people and the Aboriginal Indigenous people. Mm-hmm. First. They need to be told the truth. Mm-hmm. When they're told the truth, then the other citizens, right? Or the other, because I didn't want to say citizens, but what do you call
nationals?
But see, they're not nationals of this land. So what do you call those with dual citizenship here?
Well, they would be foreign nationals because they're not
right.
Islam, Shawnee, the writer, they wouldn't be nationals here. They would be foreign nationals. Mm-hmm. And Islam, Shay, they would be foreign nationals. And you would see, and that's the whole thing. What you're saying, you're absolutely correct. A lot of the nationals here are unconscious and don't know that they are nationals and come from a nation.
Exactly.
Not from an adjective, not from a word. And a lot of our people, because they don't know that they're nationals and they come from a nation, they don't know that they have in law what you would call political status. And that status gives you judicial and legal standing in law. And it's so important that birthrights, bloodline, pedigree, all these things are intertwined into your status. And if you don't know your status, you don't know your rights. That means you don't have any. So if they come to this land and then they take over and tell you, what you can and can't do on your own land, and they got you thinking you come from another place that you don't even connect with and don't even feel, you just say it just to unite. A lot of times this is where they're able to continue to steal our birthright. And it's so funny. I've seen a lot of the Europeans are broadcasting, they're praying with our people, kneeling and, holding up posters and yelling at the policy enforcers. None of that stuff impressed me. If you really want to impress me and our people, enforce the Constitution, enforce the treaty. And if you do that, they'll see that they'll have to go home. That will impress me.
You want to know what I find interesting? Every unconscious Moor that I've ever talked to, as soon as I bring up the Constitution, it seems like I lose them. Either I lose them in relaying the fact that, the enumeration of the Constitution should not be construed to deny or disparage the rights retained by the people. It goes right over their heads, and I lose them when it comes to me explaining to them, just the reason for why or how the Constitution secures our rights. I lose them, and I know there's one because they may not understand the lingo in which the Constitution, delivers or structure outlines the rights, the security of our rights. And then it's also the fact that they don't fully comprehend it. Even with me saying it to them, it's like, unless they have a dictionary and actually break down what the terms mean, they're never going to fully comprehend exactly how the security is actually manifested through this instrument, this Constitution.
And you know what else I found from traveling internationally? I have come to realize that because a lot of our people haven't traveled internationally, they don't understand international law. Like, for example, when you go to another country or continent and you have to abide by their treaty and their constitution of the land, you can't exercise your religion in certain other countries because that's a violation of their constitution. People don't get that because over here, you know, they got all people thinking that the Europeans made everything. And when it comes to teaching them how to enforce it and how to even comprehend it, they turned off by it because they think it's the white man's or that's his book. Why are you using his stuff? It's like, it's not his, you know, and he's not white, you know.
Exactly. And at every point that you just mentioned, I promise you, I brought that up to her. And it was funny because she, after the conversation, she still was just like, you know, I just don't understand. I was just like, Mom, you hear me, but you're not hearing me. Like, as the riots was going on in the background, I was like, Mom, see, look at this. When I see this, all I see is our people being fed up. Our people, because of a lack of knowledge, they're acting through emotions completely. And most importantly, I see this as more evidence towards this transformation that we're ultimately going through this year. I was told, she was like, what do you mean? With the rise of the pandemic, right? Even though, she said pandemic, but, I know we know it to be as pandemic. So I was like, both. The pandemic, because everyone was, a lot of people, there was a lot of people that was stuck in this bubble of what they believed to be true, what they know is not going to happen. And when that happened, because I was like, that's the first time anything like that has happened to us. She was like, actually, no, not really. I was like, well, in our lifetime, right? And she was like, yeah, and I was like, that took us out of our comfort zone. We needed to be taken out of our comfort zone so we can have that open mind that we need to receive this information.
Well, I think, they had other riots back in the 70s. And
the pandemic, we talk about the shutdown, the way
I see what you're saying with both the riots and that the pandemic.
Both together. Right. It's means transformation.
It's just a distraction. When they realized that everybody was hip to the fact that COVID is not a airborne virus and that they actually infected people, then it's like, damn, I can't get them that way. So then next thing you know, okay, there's no sports, so I can't confuse them or distract them with that. There's no more Hollywood because China owns that now. And a lot of them are being detained behind closed doors because they're part of the pedophilia ring. Now, only thing left we got is these so-called race riots, okay, which is actually funded in large by George Soros.
George Soros?
Oh, yeah.
That's a new name. Who is he?
George Soros, he's the founder of the political parties that fund different movements to counter, it's called COINTELPRO. But more specifically, he works with Black Lives Matter, and he funds a lot of the different parties. And number one, he funds parts of the NAACP and Black Lives Matter movement. So people
I should have known that was ultimately funded by one of them. For a second, I thought it was the influence of social media, and then everyone kind of jumping onto the trend like a bandwagon or something like that. But that's a fun fact. I didn't know that.
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of it's so funny if you look at just like we was talking the other time. When you look at language, the spellcast is in the language, and people don't get when you really go back to studying language and knowing language, you can trace and identify who's behind what. Okay, like George Soros and Bill Gates, Fauci, the Bilderberg group, the Bilderbergs.
I've never heard that. The Bilderbergs, like BERG.
It's a lot of names we can drop, but pretty much a lot of them are a part of these different foundations. John D. Rockefeller, Frederick Gates. They fund the so-called education system, And they're actually, now, anytime your oppressor funds your schooling, then you should know that, or they're the head of the philosophy and board of education for your schooling, you should automatically know that your children are not going to get properly taught. And he even says that in his manual. So, and that's another thing. Our people, like, we're the only people who will be oppressed by a group of people and still will send our children to their schools
and worship them.
I mean,
and fight for them.
Right. And that's the sad part. It's kind of like we have been so defeated mentally. In
all planes, spiritually, mentally, and physically. Honestly, it's really, really sad. And that's why I was explaining to her as well earlier. I was like, when you think about it, I was like, really, really sit and think about this, Mom. What makes any person non-descendable? Okay, when you have an individual who has taken on the names of another nation, right? So you're not owning the name of your mothers and fathers.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the native language of your mothers and fathers.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even claim to the nationality of your mothers and fathers.
Mm-hmm.
And you're incompetent. Think about it. They've done all of those factors to us. We've taken on the English language. We're the Smith, Jones, and Johnsons. We claim ourselves to be Negro, Black, and colored. Of course, as a collective, most of us is conscious that we're not those things. But as a collective, this is, we've taken on this brand name. And we have disassociated ourselves from the land. Go ahead.
Well, I don't want to cut you off. I don't want to cut you wisdom. Let's just correct some concepts with the language piece. English is English is the Indo-European root system that we created. It's the Indo-European family of languages. So it's like it includes not just English, but all of the language stock that come underneath that one language. We created English to do commerce and business. It's like we created it to do slang, to talk in slang. So they didn't give us that. We taught them that, but everything else you dead on.
Would you say, because I know a lot of people are aware of the transliteration between the Phoenician to the Greek that, eventually converted over to the English language. So when it comes to the Indo-European language, would you say it kind of happened in that order or,
Well, to be honest, when we say Phoenicians, Phoenician is I don't think that's a proper term because as a people, because that's like me saying physician, beautician, mortician, Phoenician. Is that ending sound that connects back to what the person actually did.
It sounds more so as a classification.
Exactly. So, like, if I was a physician, you wouldn't say the physician people,
right?
But that's what they call it. But that's something that they did. It's like a verb transitive. So but it went from the ancient languages from Lemuria and Atlantis, and then it comes down from, and those civilizations come from Amagia, and then it comes down to the Sanskrit, the Ziggurat, then it goes down to Hikupta, Alkebalon, or Chemi, what they call Kemet. That's where you get chemistry from. And then it goes down to your more
modern
Hebrew, Aramaic, Arabic. Then the Greek wasn't really a language. And that's something that they don't want to tell you. When they add 580 years to the calendar, they rewrote themselves back into history, and they started to create these different styles of language based off of these languages. And the Greek really wasn't a language. We were the original everything. Romans, Europeans, our Irishmen, we were the original. During that time, we were speaking these languages, and then they actually, when they came on the scene, you used the word transliterate. They couldn't pronounce our language. They couldn't pronounce certain things. So what they did was come up with a slang version of it, and then we adopted that as the thing. And then that's how it became known as like different languages throughout the time.
And what you just explained was basically how they denationalized us and they separated us from our native language again. So, when I try to, I think we definitely need to kind of take a step back, because I feel like if you can address the people with undisputable facts, then the people who ignore the information, they would be considered ignorant, and there's really not much we can do. But I feel like we have to give the opportunity for those people who really do want to know the truth, and they may seek the truth in the midst of all the falsehood, but then they adopt these misconceptions, and they're still ultimately, not the absolute truth, and I know we have to be careful with using that term absolute truth, but people deserve to know the truth. So when I was explaining to her earlier, I was like, Mom, when you talk about this unity, here's the reason for why people need to know their thyself first before we can unify. One, because when you come into this knowledge, you got to remember, it's about the elevation of the mind. So when you come into the knowledge, the first thing is going to affect your thoughts. Your thoughts have a direct correlation with your emotions. So because of the lack of knowledge, they're allowing their emotion and their thoughts to be so driven by what they believe to be true. But when you have the knowledge, you will not allow your emotions to be your reactionary response. You will allow the knowledge to be like, all right, as bad as this is, I now know what I need to do in order for justice, reparations, and a change that needs to be made. And the truth of the matter is, in order for us to change as a nation, we have to change within ourselves first, And that starts with knowing the truth. I was like, it's like this. I was like, there's a difference between, because she tried to hit me with this, because I was telling her when we was talking about the Constitution piece and how it is all about the Constitution. She was like, these police officers, they don't care about no Constitution. You could be like, this is my Constitution, right? And they'll still shoot you. And I was like, you know what? In this day and age, you're so right, Mother. But guess what? If it's all about how you approach the scenario. Because if he approached that policy enforcer with a calm persona, a calm tone, and, address them appropriately, there's a difference between a person who gets stopped by a policy enforcer and they seem afraid, they give up jurisdiction, and they basically, they may get angry, and they basically influence the negative or frictional energy that's already there, because they don't respect us. You get to a point where we don't respect them. So there's a disharmony in energy. There's a difference between that and then you getting stopped by a policy enforcement. You're like, how you doing, Mr. Smith? I see that you stopped me, especially if you got stopped in the actual conveyance. I see you got your emergency light on. What's the emergency? Well, that's an emergency. Go ahead.
But that in itself, we gotta go over protocols for these scenarios, okay? Right. Because even like that scenario right there, like you getting stopped, like it constantly goes back to the spell cast in language, because if you continuously say the wrong spell, you lose. So you wanna draw it out for the people, for those who watching, so that you
already know. So you're gonna erase the board from me, okay. You know, and get in where you fit in, but you know, again, it's all about how you address them. So the first step is, before we even get into the subject matter, because you stopped me because my tail light is out. But before we get into the subject matter, right, or any probable cause, we need to address your jurisdiction. So, Mr. Smith, barely. I can't see it. I don't know if they can. I can't see it. It's a little too high.
Let me know. All right, let me see this. Can y'all see it now?
Nope. I mean, they might can. I think it's because my screen is cut off a little bit.
Let me know. Can y'all see this?
Yeah, they might be able to tell you that.
Shay, RT Pants. Can y'all see this? The board. Let me see.
I can't make mine full screen.
All right.
I can't tell you.
Y'all just text me yes or no. But
start a little bit lower. I mean, I know you gotta write a lot, but I would love to see it too. So
is this good? Right here?
All right. It might have to be. It's okay.
All right. So when you get stopped, right? Well, I'll just let you run down the situation again, and then we can go ahead and explain.
I'll give you. Let me give them the run through, and then we'll talk about the specifics, right?
Okay.
Because it's the ultimate point that I wanted to address.
Okay.
So you have Mr. Smith stop you. Now, you don't want to call him officer because he wasn't elected by the people. So Officer Smith is automatically telling him that he has the title to act as such, an officer. So, Mr. Smith, I see you have your emergency lights on. Where's the emergency? There's no emergency. I just see that you have your tail light out. Okay, well, you know, I see here that your badge number is 65318. Okay. Mr. Smith, do you have your delegation of authority on you? Well, what's that? Well, Mr. Smith, you know, you was delegated authority by the sheriff, but you also took an oath. So where's your delegation of authority order? Oh, I don't have that on me. Okay. Well, what's your bond number? Bond number? What's that? You have to be insured by the police department to cover yourself and the people. What's your bond number? Oh, I don't know that. Okay. Well, here's the problem, Mr. Smith. In order for us to even address why you just stopped me, you have to prove in persona jurisdiction. You have to prove that you have the authority to even stop me in my travel right now, okay? Right. Because that is a violation of my right to travel. So, you know, if you aren't able to prove your jurisdiction, I'm gonna need for you to call your captain. Oh, he's not able to come out, you know? Or whatever the issue may be, he may do get the captain. Hopefully he does, because the sheriff actually knows the Constitution more than the agents do. You know, he's if anybody is responsible for knowing about the oath and the Constitution, and the oath that was taken to, you know, to uphold the Constitution, forgive me, then, you know, I need to be talking to him. So hopefully get the sheriff, hopefully you don't. But once we prove the fact that they don't have, because they don't, regardless if the sheriff comes or not, you will want to do the same thing with the sheriff. You want to get all of the information of the sheriff, and you want to let them know, like, look, I'm fully aware that a traffic violation is neither a civil or criminal crime. It's not a civil crime because where's the corpus delicti? Where's the injured party? I have the right to face my accuser. You know, that's what the Sixth Amendment, you know? And so not only that, it's not a criminal crime because, you know, there's no damage to a person or property. Where's the crime? So the fact that you just stopped me in my travel for a traffic violation that's neither a civil or criminal crime, that's a violation of Title 18, subsection 241, 242. You know what I'm saying? So, I look, at this point, there's no more to discuss. If you're going to give me that citation, do so. Just know that I'm keeping that original copy. Okay. If you're going to unlawfully detain me, do so by your will. Just know I have all of the information I need to move forward with my tort claim. And the energy is what I wanted to point out in that scenario. It is that confidence, that lack of fear, that knowledge. Because believe it or not, if they smart, they'll realize that you're not a Negro, Black, or colored person, that you actually are national. You feel what I'm saying? And that is obviously something that you would want to declare to him. But before you even share any of your personal information, that's your private information. You have a choice of whether you want to disclose that information to them or not. The most important thing is challenging their jurisdiction, because the jurisdiction, you have the right to challenge the jurisdiction at any time.
That's right.
And the most important thing about that whole scenario is getting it recorded. So look, I was like, Mom, it's all about the energy. Imagine if, because let's just say, let's just say he did get belligerent and he detained me or harmed me in any way. Or even Kim, because some of them may not even have the ability to even live the next day to even get to the point where they're leaving or filing a claim against my insurance policy.
Right.
But if the heirs or the kindred is, knowledgeable enough and competent enough to act on your behalf, especially as, your trustee, the point of how serious the awareness of how to handle yourself in that situation is because two things are going to happen. Either you're going to put that policy enforcer in a position where he no longer can eat for himself or his family, or the police department is going to fire him. Why? Because if enough people, because imagine this, I was like, Mom, imagine this, right? Seriously. Imagine if it was recorded, them violating me and detaining me and hurting me, all of this. And so now all millions of people are witness to this crime, and we all file a lien, and we all go against that insurance policy. Everybody that's out there riding,
it's over.
All of those people went against that policy. First of all, he will be an example. So, and first of all, that policy enforcer is definitely going to get terminated, but he will be the example for the next policy enforcer that thinks that they want to violate their oath and the Constitution by not upholding their service to the people as public servants. You know what I'm saying?
So now you just said a mouthful.
I know, right?
So let's break down some of this stuff.
Yeah.
In layman's terms for people who are new and who probably never heard of these terms or maybe did, but let's just try to clarify some points.
Yeah. So the first step is important.
So, number one,
the first thing is knowing the importance of jurisdiction. There's three forms of
jurisdiction.
You have impersonal jurisdiction.
And jurisdiction is two words. Jurisdiction.
Go ahead, brother, take the show. Because it's already cut off your board a little bit, but you might have to do the board screen. There we go. Yeah, you're good.
Is that good?
I can see everything.
So jurisdiction. Juris means what? Right, power to act, and then diction means words. Okay, which gives you the authority. So when someone says, I got jurisdiction over that person, I got jurisdiction over this territory, I got jurisdiction over this or that, it's saying I got the right words over this situation, I got the power and authority over this group of people or that group of people, right? So jurisdiction, right?
And pardon my interjection, brother, but I do want to reference the Black Law Dictionary, 4th edition, with jurisdiction. It says it is the word. The word is a term of large and comprehensive import and embraces every kind of judicial action.
Exactly. So whenever you walk into their tribunal or you get a notice in the mail, they're saying that they have jurisdiction over you. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now let's go ahead and erase this. And if you didn't write it down, you can just go back to the recording. Okay. Jurisdiction, you have many levels of jurisdiction. Number one, you have persona. Mm-hmm. It's Latin, and it means over the person. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then number two, you have subject matter. Yep. Now, this is over the situation or scenario. Mm-hmm. Situation. Now, when they misclassify you, right, and you're not in personam jurisdiction, meaning in your proper person, personam jurisdiction deals with being in your own proper person, being competent, being able to stand on your own square in law. Islam, William Jolly Bay. It tells you right here, when you're not in personam jurisdiction, they automatically move you to number two, which is subject matter jurisdiction. And that deals with casting those spells again. Because when they stop you, when they deal with you, they say subject at large. They saying that you're the subject, not you. They're not the person. They're saying you're a subject at this point.
And so, even in relation to persona jurisdiction, is they've already claimed to have authority over you when it comes to you declaring yourself as a U.S. citizen. Mm-hmm. So when you say that you are a subject under their corporation, because the United States Service Corporation Company was registered in France in 1754 by Benjamin Franklin. So when you basically agree to be a subject under their corporations, you're subject to the codes, statutes, and regulations that, and ordinances that comes with it. So
that's right. And when you look at the subject matter jurisdiction, a lot of times, before we even get to the subjects, we can name a lot of different subjects. You can name student loan. You can name
traffic, codes and statutes,
traffic ticket, gas and electric bills. Y'all gonna have to excuse my handwriting. Gas and electric.
All bill of attainders, matter of fact.
All of them, bills of attainders. All bills of attainders. These are under the subject matter, right? Now, because your personam jurisdiction is not taken care of, you're not in your proper person, meaning a national, in your own ability to stand on your own square, they automatically lump you in subject matter as the subject. So you get all of the bills of attainders against you. And that's called in law ex parte, meaning one-sided against you. Mm-hmm. Now, here's your subject matter. And then you have, what's the third one? Territorial jurisdiction. Territorial.
And as soon as they overthrew the republic in 1861 with the coup d'etat, they claim territorial jurisdiction. They claim it every time they call themselves Americans, actually. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we agree that they are Americans give them the right to act on the behalf of America, especially when it comes to them waging war on indigenous states and lands around the world.
Exactly. And when you say territorial jurisdiction, treaties deals with territory. Mm-hmm. So if they're claiming territorial jurisdiction, that means that they are claiming to be American, like she said, and claiming to use your treaty. A lot of our people aren't using that. Now, these are your different types of jurisdiction. Just for starters, personam, subject matter, and territorial. When a policy enforcer, what they call a police or a cop or whatever they call them these days, 12, when they stop you, right? Number one, you have to be in personam jurisdiction. And we don't say pull you over, because when you say pull over, that means that they are lawful, and they're not. So they stop you. They railroad you. Railroad is a lawful legal term you can look up in the law dictionary. And it deals with highwaymen who are basically sitting in line and wait to rob you. That's what they are. Because every time they stop you, they want to give you a bill of attainder so you can pay them. Now, when our people are in situations like what's happening, the first thing that they need to do, again, is be in personal jurisdiction. This will take care of the subject matter jurisdiction. How do you get remedy? Number one, in that scenario, when she talked about being stopped by a policy enforcer, or even dealing with them, there's three things that you need to ask them for. Okay? Name. Your name and nationality.
That's a big one.
Okay. Badge number.
Mm-hmm.
Indemnity bond. Indemnity bond number. Okay.
Even the insurance policy number for real, because they definitely cover it. Well, they should be anyway.
That goes with it.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And the delegation of authority order is the fourth one.
Delegation of authority order, or what they call a DOAO. Okay, now you asked them for the name and nationality. Okay, what name are you? Okay, yeah, my name is Stevie Murphy, Stevie Goldberg, Stevie Weinstein. Okay, well, none of those names sound American to me. Where are you from? What's your nationality? Oh, I'm Irish. I'm Dutch. I'm from Germany. Oh, okay. So you just identified that you're not from here. Okay. So you're foreign. Okay. What's your badge number? 0123. Okay. So get your badge number, and I need your indemnity bond number. Oh, I don't have that. What's that? Now, when they say they don't have these things already, they're telling you that, number one, you can sue them because they're out here with these guns on their waist and they don't have insurance. They don't have indemnity bonds to cover just in case they are in the wrong, and just in case they injure. Now, they have the indemnity bond number. They're supposed to have this on them. A lot of them don't because they don't expect us to know that. Delegation of authority order. They're supposed to have a delegation of authority order signed off by Congress, giving them their permission and authority to come and stop you. And they never produce it because they don't have it. Okay? Mm-hmm. So they won't have these two on them.
And so what they're going to most likely do. My bad, brother. Go ahead with 5.
No, you also want to ask them if they take an oath, the oath of office. Mm-hmm. Right? The oath of office, they take an oath to protect and secure the people, quote unquote, and it's really the corporation. But they take their oath of office upon the Constitution. That's why you ask them, did they take an oath of office? Okay. Now, with this oath, whenever you take an oath, you're supposed to get a bond because your word is your bond. When you say, I solemnly swear to uphold and all this crap they be saying, and then they don't uphold it and they don't get a bond, they're already in violation. Okay. So what you need to do is find out who is their insurance company. Okay. Yep. Well, y'all got this. I'm gonna erase this because y'all can go back.
And what they're gonna do is try to hit you with a divergence, right? Ma'am, sir, just license registration, please. License registration and insurance. I need to see all of that. You did just say you took an oath, right? Yes, ma'am. Well, you took an oath to uphold my Constitution, and according to the Fourth Amendment, the right of people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable search and seizure shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon proper cause and supported by oath affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the people and things to be seized. Therefore, if you don't have a warrant, right? Not just a warrant, because I know you don't have one on you right now, because you're acting unlawfully, obviously. But even in the event that you did have a warrant, that needs to be signed by an Article 3 judge. And ever since Congress adjourned to the day in 1861, there has not been a lawful Article 3 judgment in place for a very long time now. So in either which way, they are acting unlawfully.
Exactly. And because they act unlawfully, we can go after them from the jump. Okay. And this is why we actually need to organize. So I keep saying this. I feel like a broken record, but we are doing it. But we organize so that we can have our own nation state to be able to defend our people and have remedy in these areas. Like, so, for example, whenever, like with the brother or the sisters who've been recently murdered, we in those territories in Minneapolis. Now, you got to really pay attention to the clues and signals. Minneapolis, Minnesota, is the Twin City, right? The Twin City was made under the age of Gemini. I'm sorry, under the age of Taurus. And the ascendant, the rising sign was Gemini. And this is where we made Twin Cities all around the world. Now, Trump is a Gemini. This is Gemini season. Sagittarius is the 180-degree opposite of Gemini. Right now, you have the sun in Gemini, and it's actually connecting with Venus retrograde. So this is going back over the past. This is focusing on past events. Sagittarius represents the institutions. Gemini represents the actual people. Okay, so the North Node in Gemini is where the people will be out there protesting and doing different things, fighting back. And then you have Sagittarius representing the institutions where they'll be fighting back against the people in the South Node. Now, I had to give you some of that backdrop astrologically so you can know how this all is playing out. Now, when anybody in those territories get injured, we should have our republic set up in that territory so that they can be able to go after the police insurance, which is their bond. Okay. The actual, well, let me do it like this so you can have a little background. It works just like this. You have the principal. You have to. So you got a three-way contract going. The police department, which would be the head, the chief of the police, has a contract with the principal, which would be the policy enforcer, what they call the police. And then they have the surety company, right? So the police department is the employer. The principal is the policy enforcer, which is the police. He has to get insurance to work here. He gets his insurance from a surety company. So we will have our people in these territories look up his surety company, put a claim in against it. This will then start the process where he, the chief of police, put COP, will then fire him, the one who caused the injury.
Why? He will be deemed as high risk.
Right. He will be high risk now, and then this insurance company will notify all of the rest of the insurance companies that they had to drop him from the insurance because he committed this crime. Now, he will never, ever, ever be able to eat again this way because now no other insurance company will pick him up, no matter what it is, because he violated under oath of office. Now, so we as a people, we will go after them like this, and we also will go after the chief of police because he put him out there on the streets. Okay? We will also go after the sheriff because he's the head over all police departments under the Sheriff's Association. And we will also go after the governor for putting all of them out there on the streets. Okay? So this is the system in which we would actually go after all of them. And there's other ways, like, for example, if you really want to make it personal, so him, his children, his wife, or whoever he's dating, or whatever, suffer, you would go after his personal property. And you would look up his personal property, and you would actually put a lien on his personal property. A lien, okay?
Because the injury, and most people be like, well, dang, how do they have the power to do that? Well, when you cause an injury to a sovereign, that's an act of treason, which is truly punishable by death. But it gives you more of a right to a claim when it comes to you going after their property.
Exactly. Because when you injure a national and you're not a national yourself, you violate national law, constitutional law, treaty law, and international law. Well, really all of them.
All of them. Yeah. And also, I just want to touch on. I want to touch on the fact that when it comes to us going after the police department, all of the levels, but what you may even find is that they may not even be covered. And in the event that you cannot find the insurance information because they're ultimately not insured, that is what gives us the means to really have that entire police department shut down.
Shut them down. And we don't know. A lot of these companies, and that's the same thing with Walmart, all these companies, you go there, they want Old Navy, they was disrespectful to one of our sisters, accusing her of stealing just because she's looking at the clothes, and they call the police because I don't like the way she's folding the clothes over, and all this type of stuff. That's when you're able to actually put a claim on them as well. And you'll find out that they don't even have insurance for this, those type of injuries that they're causing. And you can shut them down. So a lot of our people don't know this. And once we start to teach these things, like how to go on offense and smack them, I think a lot of this stuff will get in order. And I think it's moving in that direction already.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, question. Do you think that that's actually addressed in a charter for them to be insured?
Oh yeah, that's if you look up. If you can look up wherever territory you're domiciling there. Like for example, state of Maryland. Look up the state of Maryland charter, and when you look up the charter, it'll tell you. And charter in law means permission. We granted them permission to do business here, and they took over our damn country. They took over our entire continent, and we granted them that permission. And but every business
specified we for the people who need clarity, because most people will be like, "Who, we black people?" And that is not the message that we want to give.
We, as in the Nationals, specifically dealing with the Sultan of Morocco. The Sultan of Morocco granted permission of the European minister plenipotentiaries, that was their title, to hold and give and have limited powers here to do business on the seas.
When you talk about the plenipotentiary, are you talking about John Adams, Thomas Jefferson,
Franklin?
Yeah, I was.
Washington.
Why do I want to say
Thomas Barclay?
That's who it was. I'm about to say he was one of them, right? I'm about to say, why do I want to say Thomas Barclay? But I feel like it's somebody else. The so-called founding fathers, okay?
Right. For
all those who are out there that's judging me for not remembering who the so-called founding fathers are, let's stay focused on something that's more important. And that shouldn't be the main thing for us to make sure that we're all knowledgeable about, because they're very small to the bigger matter at hand. But go ahead, bro.
Right. The Sultan gave them permission to do business as the 13 companies, which they call themselves colonies, but they colonizers, 13 companies, and he gave them permission to do business on the seas. They then took their business and brought it on the land. And they expanded from 13 companies to 50.
But we got to also, my interjection, brother, but we got to go back to the ultimate reason for why we even decided to, do business with them in the first place. And that is to finally end the hundreds of years of wars between the Islamic and Christian religions, that we wanted to be that example, like, hey, we can unite with them. So look how much that kicked us in the
Well, they were begging.
The right thing to do in moral perspective.
Right. Well, they were begging for the Sultan to sign that treaty for a couple of years before he actually signed it. And you're 100% correct. This country was not founded on Christian principles. It was founded on Islam, our self-law master, the science of peace and Islamism. Okay. Not Christianity, because what our people haven't been made aware of, that we actually were at war with the Christians for centuries. And they had forced Christianity on our people. And a lot of times, even when you read in certain textbooks where the Native Americans was forced to take on Christianity, they were talking about us. Because the Europeans was the ones writing those books. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. And because we giving you, straight facts, straight coffee, no sugar, no cream, I feel that it's necessary to address the fact that there's a difference between Christianity and Constantinianism, right? From Coptic Christianity. Coptic Christianity, well, technically, Islamism is a sect under Coptic Christianity. Coptic meaning Egyptian. So in reality of it, it's funny because you have all these years of wars when technically Christianity and Islamism was under the same category, in a sense, under the same principles initially before it was corrupted by Constantine. But go ahead, brother.
Right. Well, because really, when you look at Christianity, how people look at Christianity as a religion, because a lot of times when you're from here, that's how it's portrayed. When you travel internationally, a lot of people don't look at it as a religion. They look at it as a political structure. And they created a creed, a Christian creed, to help themselves get organized to fight back against us. And that's what
Constantinopolitan Creed. That's the original. That is where Christianity derived from. You know, and the one under Constantine, not Coptic Christianity.
Right.
It has to be
century. 3rd century AD. But when we created that treaty, our ancestors left that for us to enforce, and the Constitution they left for them so that we can enforce against them. Because we have a treaty which is supreme. So you have the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and you have the Constitution. The treaty is...
I can't see it. It's okay, though. Go ahead. I just really wish I could. I hope everybody else can see it. Did they say yes to your message earlier?
I think so.
Okay. It's all right. Go ahead.
The treaty supersedes the Constitution. Okay, so the treaty is the mother or the parent, and the Constitution was adopted. Okay, it's the daughter. So nationals, Moors, should use and enforce this. This is your offense, and this is defense. This is what we enforce. Okay, and this is the rules for them being here on our land, and if they get out of order, this is how we kick them out. Okay, similar to what Hitler did. You know, these Ashkenazis claiming, all this other stuff causing havoc over there in Germany, and he gave them the warnings to get out, and they didn't get out, and so he started exterminating them, which we have the power to do. Not saying that that's something that we can do right now, but we would turn that gun towards ourselves. But
let me stop you, brother. Let me stop you just for a second, because what I want to express right now is just the importance of what we're talking about. Because when thinking about it from a perspective of someone who may be like my mom, or just like, what does this have to do with people getting killed every day by the policy forces? So how can this help us receive change now? And to that, I will say history and law goes together. You can't have one without the other. And because we have been deprived, for one, all of us not really knowing our rights, let alone enforcing our rights, we have to go back to the basics. We have to go back to the beginning. We have to go back to the history. Because if you go back to the history, one, it will help you comprehend the law better. But two, it will give you the information you need to know to recognize your title of nobility, your royalty, your status, and not status, because that's the problem. Another part of the semantic deceit. They have trained us to believe that status has something to do with having Gucci shoes and being blinked up,
right.
And about how you appear on the outside. But in reality, it's about your nationality. It's about your bloodline. It's about the authority that you have to operate within your own right, And so we have to exercise that. The problem is we have allowed the corruption to get so bad that we've lost ourselves. We lost ourselves in a matter of knowing common sense, having the common sense to say, it's funny, I saw this post earlier today. It was like, Black people can burn down the country that they built for free. It's about having the common sense to know that our ancestors put their blood, sweat, and tears into what we currently have to our disposal now. So because you're mad at the oppressor and all of the agents thereof, doesn't mean that you have to inflict hurt and harm on someone else's business, harm and violation to universal laws and natural laws when it comes to damaging personal people or property. You know, it's about having a common sense of knowing the difference between right and wrong, and being able to recognize that we have the power. We have the power to be the change that we want to see, but we have to start with each other. We have to start with ourselves first, you know? So the history is important, because if you learn history, you will learn about your natural birthright. If you learn a birthright, you will learn how to enforce it through law and unity. When we have that knowledge as a collective to move forward, only then will we see the revolution that we all hope to receive sooner than later, especially within our lifetime, you know? Only then will we be able to see the reparations, you know, that we deserve. You know, forget because the mule, we deserve way more than that. Go ahead, brother.
Well, what you're saying, not reparation, restitution.
Restitution, you're right. Because reparation.
Right, go ahead.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
No, reparations, that's like me stealing your house, and then you realize, like, oh, you stole my house, and I say, you know what?
We can have this rock in front of it.
Yeah, I'm going to give you 2 TVs out of here and the blow-up bed in the basement, and then that's your reparations. No, you want restitution. You want the house, everything in the house, on the house, outside the house, underneath the house. You want every part of finance and interest that was gained on the house while they were standing there. And you want them out. That's restitution.
Yep.
And that's what we need. Okay.
Thank you for the correction.
You're 100% on it, though. So we definitely, I mean, as a people, it's so tough because it's like when you try to unite under a false banner or under a false flag. And I'm not saying that, I'm not getting into that, but you look at all these crisis actors that's hired for these events and rioters, you know. So a lot of them are not even from these territories, you know, and they're coming and looting and doing all this stuff in these territories. And I look at it as a win-win for the Europeans, because the ones who are in power, they get to broadcast to the world that these people are still asleep. They still burning stuff. That's why we got to keep their land in trust. Now, don't y'all want us to stay in this position because these niggas still sleep? That's how they portray it.
They're going to restore everything for you. Now you be able to come over here to do business in.
Exactly. And then you also look at the particular buildings and territories that's being hit. They're hitting specific points and territories so they can claim insurance on all this stuff. So it's like it's a win-win for them. And then you still have our people emotionally upset and still, you know, going in these arguments and going in a circle. And now they're getting all these so-called black leaders, rappers and celebrities to calm the people down and do all this stuff. And it's like, I think a lot of people are starting to see the insincerity in a lot of these people. And I think that nature is really doing the job to clean this stuff and restore this stuff. I got a few questions. Okay, paper terrorists. Why do they call us paper terrorists?
That's new.
Yeah, well,
he said, why do they call us paper terrorists?
Paper terrorists. Yeah, paper terrorists is that's they love to brand and put brands out. That's another one of their tactics that they use for the media, because a lot of more send affidavits and writs. Because in law, affidavits and then writs.
Affidavit is a statement of facts
and truth.
And then the writ. Rebutted.
Right, you have to rebut it point for point. Right. So if I'm just giving an example, if you got an issue with a so-called debt, did you know that you can send an affidavit to them rebutting point for point, right? All of the alleged claims in that alleged debt. Okay. They don't want our people to know these things in law, but you actually could do that. And when you do that and you fight them back, they call you a paper terrorist because you're sending affidavit, you're sending paper, and yet they're saying that you're terrorizing us because you're sending it. That's they put these brands out so that our people can, when they it's kind of like whoever puts the lie out first, and then he who repeats it will win. So they say the lie so it can be repeated, and then they put it in the media as their paper terrorists and all these different things. But again,
but speaking of paper terrorism, if that's the case, then right, we have to pay attention to when we aren't paying that bill of attainder on time. What do? They send us the default notices. They literally use the same methods that we need to be inflicted on them. So doesn't that make them equally right. Paper terrorists as well? It's not about paper terrorism. It's about standing up for what's right and rebutting lawfully, because the law is what ultimately protects us in any claim against our state.
Right, and that's, what is that, Amendment 2? You have the right to bear arms. A lot of people automatically think about the gun, but they never think about writing. You have a right to bear arms, okay? And this is your right to bear arms when you're writing your affidavit, statement of fact, statement of truth, or your writs, okay? Giving them orders.
More specifically, it states a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of free state. The right of people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So it's about the security of your free estate. It's about you being able to protect yourself and your kindred and your bloodline, in a lawful manner.
Exactly. So that's pretty much where they get that term. And then to be fair and be transparent and honest, a lot of Moors, nationals, when they become conscious that they're nationals, they like to send out a lot of paperwork, which is in their right to do so. But a lot of times they don't even read it themselves. They just get it from someone else and send it out. Or there'd be so much different things that they'll try to take advantage and use that, capitalize on that person's ignorance or that person's flaw or mishaps, and then blow that out of proportion and say that they're all paper terrorists. So.
And what they also have a common tendency to do is, they'll call you out. They either have you come into the tribunals or they'll call you to see if you can stand behind that writ and that affidavit. And there's been a lot of cases where we haven't been able to do so. Therefore, that has caused them to enact these different diversions. For example, they will, you had a situation where they was like, oh, we don't take legal paper. We don't take legal size. We only take regular size. When did the law change? When did you decide to switch that up? They switched it up. They saw that the people were starting to wake up, but we weren't doing it holistically. We weren't doing it completely in honor, because when you stand in honor of who you are, you should be able to be the right that the paper is supposed to be an extension of yourself, not a separate entity speaking for you, and that's it, and your body isn't able to stand on its own square. No, so, and they know that, so they create these different diversions.
Exactly, and that's why it's like, this is why we need, again, our own news and our own press to publicize the truth about us, because no colonized people will ever have their colonizers tell the truth about them. So, just like, for example, we're all trying to organize and do all these good things, and they putting out stuff on, they're plotting to overthrow. We're not worried about y'all, because the law is going to take care of itself. And they're not going to tell the truth about us. And that's why we can't rely on them to tell the truth about us. And that's why we need our own things, our own press, our own media, our own social media, our own news channels, everything. So
I think we have a really good possibility in getting those things now more so than ever. Because one of the things I think about during these times of transformation, some would say times of chaos, but one of the things I realized is that they really are desperate for a different solution. Mostly everybody is aware of the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing, multiple times and expecting a different result, And we've been handling crucial scenarios like the brother getting murdered in the same way for generations. So not only are we are, despite what people may believe, we're experiencing the elevation of the consciousness as a collective. So we are basically getting put in a position where we're going to be able to receive this knowledge now so more than ever. So once people are able to embrace the truth, because one thing that doesn't lie is sincerity. So I feel like despite all of this, corruption and deceit, we'll recognize real, and I feel like that truth and that realness could never die, So when people can feel the sincerity and honorable wars as we're sharing this information and they're able to receive it, I think, that will have an ultimate impact. I guess, of course, they say you can't do nothing without the finance. And I like to entrust that, we need the finance. We do. But we don't need to make that the first and foremost thing. We don't need to make the finance the end all be all, because we've already lost ancestors from working for the fiat and them not even knowing themselves in the process. So I would say once we first gain the knowledge, I think that the finance in every circumstance, for me personally, the finance always came. So I feel that there's a good chance that instead of these celebrities funding schools in Africa and all these other coolest things, when people wake up as a collective, they will be willing to fund our press, because that is the most powerful weapon that we have amongst the people, believe it or not, because it's the media and the projections of the media and the news and all of these other forms of entertainment that has had a very heavy influence on our mentality and illusion of what we feel is reality. So once we can control the narrative by giving that projection of the truth and absolute truth, the truth that they're not going to tell you in news or, they'll be able to feel the sincerity, hopefully, most importantly, do the studying so we can stand up and take our places amongst the affairs of that.
Oh yeah, and I think this definitely is going to happen. Because I just feel like we've been on this journey. We've been talking about this. We've been down this road and trying to organize and all this stuff. I just feel like this time is different, because all of the connections that we making and the quality of people that is coming on board and waking up, and I just feel like this time is different. And it's kind of like in sports. I can compare it to in sports, football. You're playing and you know the other team's scheme and you know what they're doing. They know what you're doing, but you know that this time they can't stop nothing you're gonna do because it's your day, and that's how I feel like they know that. They know it's our day, and you only do this to a group of people when you know that your time is up.
Right. They got to continue to step up the phase, you know. Right. One of the reasons why I also feel that it's going to be different this time around is because people, they intuitively know that something's not right. There's a lot of things that don't add up, you know, with the de facto government, with a bunch of factors when it comes to what we told history-wise, a lot of factors, right? And when you're told this truth, the truth that we're actually sharing right now, particularly, things start to click and things start to make sense. And then when you're able to put one and one together and see two, then you're able to recognize that, dang, I've been lied to. I've been lied to. So the people that I once trusted with my life and my children's life, I can no longer trust because now I know that they are the enemy, you know? Right. They are the reason for why we are so oppressed. So I would rather, and it's this whole thing. I can't wait until we get out of this. I don't want to believe my own brother and sister until I see the white man do it. By the way, let's qualify that because I don't want nobody to misconstrue our language. You know, that's one of the ways that when you put the S in front of words, you get swords. And that's been one of the ways that they've been, you know, keeping us at a very low vibrational standpoint by us getting comfortable using these words that we don't even know the original etymological meaning to. So, you know, when I say white, we first have to realize that we give free white persons in law, it refers to a sovereign capacity. So, through the Whitmore Party, Horace Greeley suggested that they take on this color scheme or color code system and adopt their titles as white from the law term of free white person. So when we call them white people, little do we know we again give up jurisdiction and we give them the sovereign power by claiming that they are sovereign by calling them white. So we call ourselves black by denationalizing ourselves. And we call them white by giving them the power, and they act as so, you know. So anyway, we have to first of all address our language. But the problem is our people, they aren't convinced until it's coming from the Abiyan Europeans, you know. Until it's coming from, we really have to get out of that mindset.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Love a God that you cannot see, but then love your brothers and sisters who you see every day. You know what I'm saying? So we need to be able to rely on ourselves first before we can rely on any other person outside of our bloodline. That's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. And that's right.
Granted, I know because there's a lot of people who's been hurt by our own people. And I know as a collective, we have a lot of work to do. You know, it's that lack of spiritual, mental, and even physical elevation that has caused our people, the people who do harm and do actually spread the misinformation and misconceptions, is because of a low vibrational energy within themselves. So let's not blame or judge anyone for their previous actions. Let's just decide to do better moving forward. Why can't we just do that? And although some of our people have lost our trust because we don't trust them because of whatever reason, you know, of the past, the past should not define our future. So if we can all as a collective decide, dang, well, you know, I did do my brother wrong in the past, but you know what? I'd rather fight a war with them than to fight against them, you know, and do better from here on out. We can overall gain the trust together as a nation, as a people. We just got to give ourselves a chance first. And we need to give ourselves the benefit of the doubt before we give the people of a whole separate bloodline all the trust and love and dedication, commitment. My goodness.
Exactly. We definitely got to look at ourselves first. And that's part of the reason why even every time we talk, we don't like to just talk about the problem, quote unquote. We like to talk about the solutions. And some of the solutions that we're actually taking the steps to provide remedy is to develop our republic, around the territories. So we definitely want to know about that news channel that you put together, Shawnee. And definitely want to work with that. We're going to need that, our own press. RT Pants, Shay, I already know that y'all are on point to help out and assist. Y'all are already on it. And this is actually Mother Gianna, who you're going to be working with, our secretary. So I'm excited to actually get to work done.
I wish I could see that. Or is it too much to read?
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, this is definitely divine timing, RC Pants. I feel like that. And Shay, you're right, it all comes full circle. Yes, RC Pants said, yes, I need to find some Moors in New York. I have some Moors in New York I can connect you with. Empress Brandy and Brother Barker Bay. They some good ones.
This brother got every territory,
everywhere, because it's time.
Internationally too, the UK, everything.
Everywhere, it's time. It's like everybody on it. They know. RC said, I'm sorry. Let me see. Shay says, "Hey, Mother Islam." RC Pan say, "Yes, Sister Gianna. Thanks for that email." So yeah, definitely got to build with the mic. Cause look, Shay and RC Pan, they on it, man. In that group chat, every day. Well, I'm telling you, they've been on it. So like, they ready to take it over. Elder Noom says need to build in San Antonio, Texas. Yeah, I got Moors out there too.
Look, I told you, Moors everywhere.
I got Moors in Texas and man, all over Texas, Dallas,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Definitely start linking up. We got to start linking up in the individual territories because the real power is in the numbers. The reason for why, there's been Moors who are consciously aware of the things that really needs to be taking place right now outside of rioting and looting and all of this destruction. But the problem is they can only get so far individually. You have a little speck of people here and a speck of people there trying to create an impact that requires the millions and the majority. You don't have much, you don't see much, of a solution from that. It requires numbers.
Right. And I think this time, like when the brothers from Beijing, Moors in Beijing.
Moors in Beijing.
All over.
That's the thing.
They're going to do the same thing we're going through. And they are, when we're talking, they on different time zones, so sometimes I gotta catch them late or early, whatever.
Yeah.
We'll talk, and they let me know what's going on with them, and they ready, like they are waiting on us to wake up to put this.
Can you imagine it? Right? Can y'all imagine this? So, as a collective, as a majority, right? We all get competent in law. Right. So then when we are able, Luna, baby girl. Okay. So we're all competent in law. So then once we act as a collective, a nation, a body politic, then we can get the support system that we need from other nations internationally. We can literally, take our place amongst the fair men. But, we have to start with getting ourselves together first before we can dare get the assistance from people outside of this continent, let's say that.
Yeah, because when definitely there are people ready to back us, but they and you can't blame them for this thought I'm about to say. I am willing to help y'all, but I'm not going to risk what we established for you guys being ignorant, arrogant, and disorganized.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to put my nation at risk because you guys are just going to destroy it. So they're ready though. They're ready to support. They're ready to, be there and stand with us. But we gotta be there for us.
Exactly. And some people may be like, well, how is that possible? Why are they waiting on us? The reason why they're waiting on us is because they are fully aware that we're part of their bloodline. They're
only that, they are aware that we are their mothers and fathers.
Islam that. Speaking of mothers, I wanted to touch on that too, because that's one of the things that we haven't talked about thus far. And that's one of the key, most important things that we have to embrace. Mm-hmm. Mothers, oh my goodness. I know we have grown up to have this immediate tension between us in most scenarios, unless we come across somebody that we are cool with, right? Mm-hmm. But when it comes to mothers as a collective, we have to master ourselves. So here's the thing. Mother Nature comes to our aid in ways we don't imagine, right? And as mothers, we have to remember that it's mother, fathers, and sons, but reality, there's only mothers and sons, because every mother is responsible for creating this civilization that we currently have. So when you think about history, they have used the mothers to influence the husband and the child to go to church, right? In history, they influenced the mother to degrade themselves in ways where we have been exploited sexually before we are acknowledged as the royal positions and the honorable. See, we have the mother is the highest position that one can hold, right? Because we are the beginning. Once we unite, once we as mothers get to the point where we're able to, as a collective, treat our brothers and our husbands. Well, let's not use husband because that's a connotative, figurative statement. But when we're able to actually treat our brothers with respect, right? And when we're able to just rise in consciousness overall, we're able to have that much impact over the world because we have the heavy influence over the children. When the children go out in the world, they act on the behalf of what they see at home. And it starts with the mother. Yeah, the father is there to protect, but the mother is here to build the nation. The mother is really, really the strength. So I don't want to get to the point where I'm sounding sexist, because I know there's some people out in the world who may feel that way. But when you think about the power of that negative energy relates to the feminine aspects that we all have, right? But that negative charge, I'm going a little bit into science, but follow me. But that negative charge is what gives that power, and that positive charge or that masculine energy is what is naturally drawn to that negative charge. So the brothers are drawn to us. Once we fix our mentality, once we elevate in consciousness, they will follow. That's and right. The problem is we didn't let our brothers go astray. We've treated them like dogs. So look at this. So our brothers, they grew up where society treated them like ish, And then they came home to mothers who, in their lower selves, pushed them away even more. So what ended up happening was the brothers fell very, very, very low vibrationally. And they actually seek to some of them have went to other races or other bloodlines in order to conceive and build families with. But they are always, they were meant for us in the beginning, and they're still not, I don't know if I say they're still not in our control now, but control is the wrong word to use. The power is in our unity, So once we're able to get ourselves to come together as mothers, first of all, most importantly than all of that, once the mothers come together, we we was ran under a matriarchal system before, and we are responsible for reestablishing that matriarchal system. So it starts with us to establish our government politic and get the brothers to fall in line to protect us as they should. And then our children will grow up in honor, and then we would start acting like a nation. Islam, I hear.
All right. Look, all right. I'll slip you that 5 later.
You're right.
But seriously, like that's kind of like that's everything that our people heard of as far as like the patriarchy and the male running things. Even in the European culture, truthfully, behind closed doors, their women are running things, and that's where you look up the daughters of America. So I guess I'm trying to say, us men, as men, we shouldn't feel threatened by it being a matriarchal system, because that's how everything is ran in nature, you know. But I guess I'm trying to say, women hold that negative charge. They hold that the most of the energy, you know. They hold that. If you look at a battery, we talked about this before, you look at a battery, which part is the most dominant when it comes to energy? It's that negative charge. It houses the most energy, and it shoots that electrical charge to the positive end. Okay, that points out, right? Just like the penis, right? So it's like, this is what you see in nature. This is what you observe in phenomena every day. It's like they have tricked us and made us think it's reverse. And, you know, women, you know, they actually run things, and we got to get back to that. You know, put her.
When you said reverse, it reminded me of two things. One, how growing up, they try to make we people, they try to classify them as ussies, right? Oh, you a ussie, Y'all know what I'm trying to say. So, in reality, the yoni is way stronger than a penis. You know? Think about how fragile and sensitive a penis is. But a yoni can literally give birth and take a lot of pain, actually on a month-to-month basis, depending on how you're eating. But, you know, the reversal piece is huge. Not only that, it also made me think about politics. It's funny how, you know, kings, presidents, all of these positions of powers was always, men were always in those positions. And then they did all the social engineering and social conditioning on the women to make us feel like, oh, you know, we have to fight for our rights. You know, we have to fight to be on the same level as the men. So what they did was they like, okay, we gonna give you what you want. And they put our mothers in the de facto positions. So now you are in a position thinking that you like, I'm finally in this White House. I'm finally in a position of authority. They finally listen to me now. Well, when they do listen, because, you know, we're still going through the transition. But the reality is the cycle is funny, because now we're more comfortable with the women being in the positions of authority, but they're in the authority to the demise of the true natural beings, or the state of the beings. The true, they're still ops. They still sucks. Right. They're in a position where they are literally still corrupting their own blood. So I think that's interesting how they really do use that. That reversal game is no joke.
Oh yeah. And I mean, that's why we're restoring it now. And I'm glad that you mothers are picking up the mantle, because it's not just about us, it's about the next generations coming behind us. Because a lot of the older generations that we tell, you know, a lot of them sitting with you have conversations with them, you find out that they already know this information and they've been just sitting on it. You really can't save all of them, you know. This is for the future generation. So with that in mind, we're looking towards building a future for the next 7 generations down. So I'm excited. I can't wait to see the work that you mothers are going to do. And of course, you know, you got your sons, Masons, my sons, in support and going to fall in line when you get in order. So you definitely get for that process. And
Yeah. Me too. I think about how growing up, I used to have female friends, but all the female friends I used to have, I always found myself in like a scandalous situation. I remember I had a group of friends where they wanted to jump a girl and they wanted me to jump in, and when I didn't want to do it, me and my friends ended up beefing, And it was another situation where the girl slept with my boyfriend or whatever, and then we wasn't friends no more, So I grew up thinking, I was like, you know what? I'd rather have a male friend than a female friend because these itches are scandalous. Mm-hmm. And they shady and they conniving, and I remember all of these thoughts, I was just like, I can't do females, can't do it. They too much, they too emotional for me. I remember thinking all of these things. Mm-hmm. And then when I got into this knowledge and I realized, dang, those mothers didn't realize that they were actually feeding into their lower cardinal selves rather than their higher selves. They didn't know the truth about who they really are, because if they did, they would treat themselves with more respect, and we would treat each other with more respect. Once we come into this knowledge, we would see things so differently than the way we do now when it comes to how we treat one another. Mm-hmm. That's why the knowledge is so important. That's why we have to, people who are, like my mom earlier, she was like, I need to know what we need to do now. Not no read about no constitution. I'm sorry. I laughed so hard when she said it, like, but look, but we have the power. So what we can do now is study. We don't have we could, because I don't like to limit ourselves through my words. But right now, there's too many people that are still too involved with their emotions to think rationally right now. So the people who have the patience with themselves to receive this information that we're giving, and the information as they come into the truth, mm-hmm. and study, you will not only realize that you'll learn how to defend yourself the next time you encounter a policy enforcer, or defend yourself the next time a suit ends up in your mail or bill of attainder, but you'll also learn how to act on behalf of the people. So what we can do right now, all we can do is study, because so many people out there don't know. So you have to start by knowing this information. Be patient with ourselves. Once we know the information, then we can act. But we have to act. We have to act after we know, because that's a lot of problem. A lot of Moors have had the issue with getting a little bit of information and then just running with it. Yeah. That's how they ended up copy and paste some writs and send it off without being the writ, because they get through the information, they run it with it. We're going to have to be patient with ourselves and knowing that we're not going to learn everything overnight. But we need to have loyal people around us so we can ask questions, receive solid, truthful answers, study for ourselves so we can know, so we can all do better as a nation.
As long to that. And can't sum it up any better. We definitely got a lot of goals and tasks ahead, and studying is one of them. So we're going to be doing more studies. We actually have a class coming up Wednesday, and the Saturday class just finished. So we're going to start a whole new class maybe on Saturday. So we just finished up the trust law. We might actually be doing something else. And I'm going to start doing the astrology courses again. I'm going to try to get everybody in one class instead of teaching two at one time and all that stuff. So stay on the lookout for that.
Mm-hmm. And for the people who may be like, we're in the middle of a crisis and you talk about astrology right now, we need to know the importance of astrology, because we all have a cosmological makeup, and little do we know, the masses are unaware on how the planets, the transits, the movements in the solar system have an effect on us. Okay, there are different things you can learn in astrology that one can prepare you for what's to come. So when Tuesday is here and Mars is in full effect and a riot goes down, or people are acting crazy, or when Mercury is ruling on Wednesday, and, everything communication wise is just not going right, you're able to have the knowledge to be like, oh, okay, here is what is in retrograde. Here is how the people are being influenced. So you can look at it from the overall perspective rather than just being affected by the influence. We have to learn how to control it.
Exactly. And astrology is your master key to civilization. That's how they're running the world right now. They're playing out the influences of the planets on the people, and people don't even realize it.
So what people also don't realize is they know astrology too. They know, the oppressors know the importance of astrology. That's why when you have your tribunal date, they know your information, and when you was born enough to pull up your natal chart to know which day that you're most likely to be in disharmony or most likely subject to whatever liability they're gonna throw on you for the sake of financial gains and all of these things come into play. They know how astrology works, and how to model.
Oh yeah, they definitely do, and that's why. Part of the reason why I'm going to be teaching that, and so you can also help your children to give them a chance. A lot of this stuff we're going to be doing is so that you can teach the children. And we're coming out with a school. We're going to get the physical location. Well, we're not going to put that out there yet because we're building a community. So, but we're going to do the school, but also, so if you want to connect with us and build with us, leave your information. And for everybody who else, already connected with us, we got a lot of work to do. So,
not you to build with us. It is you need to. It's no longer a choice. This is what needs to happen because the time is now. The time we leave behind. So it's not. We got to get our emotions out of it. We got to get the laziness out of it. We got to do what we need to do, not for the sake of ourselves, not for the sake of right now, but for the sake of our future generations. In this way, and for the people who are still out there against it, recognize that we have done things in the past that has not worked. We are still dealing with the same issues that we've dealt with generations ago. Be willing to be open-minded to implement this new solution, because the truth of the matter is not a new solution. It's the solution that we should have been taught since the institution, since we've been put in those institutions. But they didn't want us to have this knowledge. So now that we're getting this knowledge, we have to implement this knowledge. We have to.
Mm-hmm. So I think that was well said, Mother. I'll let you have the last word, Mother. As it's getting late, we can go ahead and close out. We thank everybody for tuning in. Shawnee, Shay, Artsy Pants, New, Brother Jolly Bay, Be Original. We thank everybody for tuning in. And we're definitely going to have more stuff coming out, video-wise, content-wise, a lot of stuff. I'm working on a lot of stuff. So peace and love, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the chat. And
one more thing.
Go ahead, man.
Before we go, y'all, let me close it out with this.
Mm-hmm.
And recognize, well, for one, the people that are live right now, thank you for your questions. Thank you for your comments. We appreciate your support and the fact that you even stayed on the live for this long, because that says a lot. But for the people who are not currently live with us, just want to see this video, please recognize the importance of sharing this, okay? Because there's algorithms out there, Facebook algorithms, Instagram algorithms that they have in place. It's censorship. They have all of these methods in which they keep conscious information like this from getting out. But if we share this information amongst ourselves, then if you take on the duty of sharing this information, and you make sure the next person have this information, and that cycle continues, then we can get to a point where this becomes common knowledge. Conversations like these are not normal. We need to make these conversations of normalcy, and in order for us to do this, we need for you all to share it. We need your support. We need your assistance. Again, like we said, the most powerful weapon we have right now is the press. And this is a form of it, okay? So we can utilize and exercise the power within this platform by you all sharing this video, then we can start to create that impact that we need in order to receive the change that we deserve. Islam, Islam, Islam.
All right.
Peace and love, everyone.
Peace and love, everybody. Enjoy your night. Don't forget to share.
Yeah.